all the people that have the Trump derangement syndrome on the right are like, well, you can't do it all in a year. Yeah, but you know what you can do? You cannot launch missile attacks into Iran. You can end support for Israel. You can end support for Ukraine. You can go ahead and end all that. You don't have to come in and negotiate the peace deal. You just come in and say, hey, Ukraine, you're on your own. And then guess what? That will probably get Ukraine to make the agreement a lot quicker if they don't have our financial backing or our military support, getting our weapons and everything else. But now the peace candidate, Donald Trump, if you listen to all the people on that are still in his camp, we need to go to war with Venezuela. Okay, Venezuela is selling drugs, if you didn't know. So even though the war on drugs, which is unconstitutional, and yes, I'm saying it's unconstitutional because, see, think about this. When they put a prohibition on alcohol, they recognized that they didn't have the authority to put a prohibition on alcohol. So they made a constitutional amendment. And then when they got rid of it, they went back and repealed that. They didn't just pass. They don't have the authority to ban substances the way they do. But, during the FDR administration, the Overton window moved so far to the left on the big government spectrum that we think that that's okay for the government to basically pick and choose which substances the United States citizens get to use. But here's Representative Maria Salazar, and I've heard of her before, not very familiar with her, but I came across this, and this is one of the biggest hawks I found, where she was arguing about being involved, supporting Ukraine, but now she's really trying to ramp up support for starting a war with Venezuela, another regime change war. Which, here, I'll just let her talk. I'll just let this crazy woman ramble on here on Fox for a little bit, and then I'll tell you what I think.
He's understanding that we're about to go in. He understands that he has been our enemy for the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. Venezuela, for those Americans who do not understand why we need to go in, basically for three reasons. You're in Fox business. Venezuela, for the American oil companies, will be a field day, because it will be more than $1 trillion in economic activity. American companies can go in and fix all the oil pipe, the whole oil rigs, and everything that has to do with the Venezuelan petroleum companies, or everything that has to do with oil and the derivatives. Number two.
Okay, so first of all, she says that Maduro has been the enemy for 25 years. Maduro has only been the president of Venezuela since 2013. Now, if she's going back, she's talking about Hugo Chavez, which we were attempting to coup Hugo Chavez going back to the W. Bush administration, because Chavez was standing in the way of the FTAA, which was the Free Trade Act of the Free Trade of the Americas Act, which was basically NAFTA expansion all the way through every country in South America. Hugo Chavez saw this as a potential threat to the Venezuela's sovereignty and stood in the way. I do not like Hugo Chavez. I do not like Maduro. They're socialist. They have destroyed the economy in Venezuela with a little assistance from U.S. sanctions. But regardless, their programs would have failed. But that's what you always hear the socialists say. The only reason that Venezuela is failing is because of United States sanctions and economic pressures, which that's definitely contributed to it. But socialism is always going to fail. But her the first reason that she gives for why we need to go into Venezuela is for the oil companies. Okay? They're not talking about going down there and getting all of the oil to nationalize for the United States citizens. And not that I still would not want to go to war with Venezuela, even if we were going to go down there, take all of their resources and bring it back here to spread the wealth among the United States citizens, because that's like old school empire type stuff. And we're not going to do that. Okay. I don't believe in using force or theft against anyone. And that's exactly what that would be. If we just go to war with them so we can go take their oil, that's theft. The problem is it's the oil companies that will go down there, take over the resources, and then they will profit from it. See, they will use the the socialized system of the United States military, and they're going to get taxpayer funds to fund that military, go down there, get the resources, and then they're going to privatize the gains that they're going to earn from taking over those resources. So there's a problem with that. Now let's listen to her second reason.
Venezuela has been the launching pad, the hub for our enemies. The Iranian, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Cubans, the Nicaraguans, people that hate the United States, and the only thing they want to do is do harm to us and to our young Americans. And number three,
Venezuela is the launching pad for Hamas, international radical Islam, Nicaragua, Cuba. The launching pad for what? What is she talking about? Is she, again, are we talking about drugs? The launching pad for what? She has said they want to harm the youth of America. They're the launching pad. That wasn't even like a complete thought. It was just they're the launching pad of, and nothing. She gives nothing. She just names a bunch of places and says they're the launching pad for people that hate us. So I didn't realize that, is she talking about terrorist immigrants that are using Venezuela to sneak into America? Are they right on our border? Or would that be immigrants that are coming through Mexico, the Mexican border? So I feel like that was just a terrible point. And let's listen to her third reason.
He is the head of the Suns cartel, which is one of the transnational criminal organizations. In 2020, Nicolas Maduro was indicted by a federal grand jury for drug trafficking, and he is the head of the Suns cartel. So right there, the economy, security, and politically speaking, we're going to be doing a favor to us, to our children, to our economy, to our oil.
So she's talking about the alleged drug cartel that's being ran through the Venezuelan government, which there's, on both sides of it, there's people that say that this cartel exists. There's some people that say it doesn't. There's some people that say that Maduro has nothing to do with it. And a lot of this goes to, and this goes back to, in the 80s, and it's the FARC guerrillas that were trafficking cocaine out of Colombia, because, see, we're in Colombia too. And she talked about, just like when we were in Panama, and we took, this is early in the video, she's talking about when we took out Noriega. Yeah, we took out Noriega, and we took out Escobar, and we took out all these people because the United States wanted control of the drug game. When we took those guys out, did the drugs stop? No, we just took it over. See, the United States government doesn't want anybody selling drugs unless the United States government is controlling who that is. That's like Rick Ross said, when Rick Ross was selling drugs, he was getting it from the CIA, and then he would tell them, hey, take this guy out, take that guy out, take out my competition, and they would basically empower him until he no longer, fit their needs. And that's what the United States government does. And that's why there's no coincidence that when we went into Afghanistan, all of a sudden we had a huge influx of heroin. The CIA and these other government organizations sell drugs, and then they use that money to fund their black ops spending, basically. It's like, if it's something that can't be funded through outright government funds, they do it on their own. They'll sell guns, they'll sell drugs, they'll traffic children. They're very bad people, and they do that whole the ends justify the means thing. That's that socialist thinking. The ends justify the means. So they'll say, well, we're doing this for the good. We're doing this for the good. We need this regime change war for the good. And here she is again, going on some more about the oil.
Doing this because Maduro is the head of a transnational criminal organization.
Yeah.
Maduro is not the legitimate president of the country. So we're not invading a sovereign country that has a free and
See, Maduro is not the legitimate head of the country because that's not who we want to be the head. So any country that has somebody in the head of the government, we just say, oh, that's not the legit guy. But when we try to get involved in other countries' elections, which we do, we were involved in Ukraine's elections back when we put Yushchenko in, and then later we switched to supporting Yanukovych until Yanukovych wanted to go back and side with Russia. So then we supported Petro Poroshenko, or when we support the opposition party against Lukashenko and Belarus, or the Georgia elections. In any country where the elections don't go our way, or when we're trying to rig it, and I'm not saying that other countries don't also intervene in foreign elections, but we're just acting like we don't. Like, I think was it 2016 or 18? We had the Juan Guaido guy down there trying to run against Maduro, and he lost. Guaido was a joke, but because our guy didn't win the election, obviously their elections are all rigged because who's better at rigging elections than the United States government?
Unfair elected Democratic president. No, this guy is a thug, and he's good friends with Hezbollah. They are giving uranium to Hamas and to Iran and to North Korea and to Cuba and to Nicaragua. Come on, it's time for the United States to do what we need to do. And thank God that Trump is doing it. And I'm telling you that these people, the Venezuelans, have the largest reserves of oil in the world, more than Saudi Arabia. We're talking about this is going to be a windfall for us when it comes to fossil fuels.
Well, and again,
it's not going to be a windfall for us. It will be a windfall for large corporations, just like it always is. They want to use our military. They want to use our men and women. They want to use our money to go out, support their efforts so they can control the resources. That's what it's always about. And she's really, you hear the oil. I'm telling you, they got the largest oil reserves. We got to do this. She sounds like Lindsey Graham talking about the minerals in Ukraine, which there's dispute on if those minerals in Ukraine are even there. Conflicting reports on that as well. But Lindsey Graham, you can go back. There's video of him. He's just talking, oh, we got to get those minerals. We don't want Ukraine. We don't want Russia to get those minerals from the Ukraine. Lindsey Graham, he sounds like the gayest, like, Southern woman from like the antebellum time period, and he's in the Senate. It's just these people, the war party, they're just so gross. Like, I can't stand them, and they just want to keep pushing more war and pushing more war, and people just eat it up. This is on Fox Business News. I can already see some of the Republicans that I know, they're sitting around, they're white. They're like, yeah, I like this lady. Yeah, we need to kill them Venezuela. We should drop a bomb on Venezuela because they're selling drugs. That's all they say. And then, oh, we should just kill all the Islamists. We should kill every Muslim. Like, you hear these people make these like ridiculous comments, and it's like, you don't even know what you're talking about. It's just so frustrating. And, we got to I hope we back down from all this Venezuelan stuff. I saw something in the news, another boat. We just blew up another boat. You got our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, up there saying, like, I hope they all die. What is wrong? Like, what is wrong with our country? Seriously, we cannot support another regime change war. We have to stop all of this meddling in the affairs of foreign nations, especially when we want to talk about how we want our processes to be respected and we want other foreign nations to not be involved here. Because I'm telling you right now, the United States is not very stable right now. Our currency is losing its footing. Inflation's got the potential to take back off. There's a lot of frustration, a lot of people really struggling to get by. It's kind of a powder keg. And you'd be naive to think that there's not foreign governments trying to take advantage of that. If you don't think China, if you don't think Russia, if you don't think that there's other NGOs sponsored by other countries here trying to destabilize our country, you're crazy. And it's not going to take much. You know, the next George Floyd thing will kick off, and the next thing you know, you got some Soros backed group, or maybe they're funded by some, Chinese government group through back party channels. I don't know. But it's not good. We need to focus on America, getting America fixed, America first, America only, and not support any more wars of aggression or intervention or regime change. Thank you for listening. Have a good day.